Hi, this is George Alger. Welcome to today's segment of Our Ventura TV. Today we're going to be speaking about treating fentanyl. And joining us is the Executive Director of Narconon Ojai, Fabian Padro. Welcome, Fabian. And for those who might not know, can you give us a brief description of Narconon Ojai?
Yeah, hey, thanks, George. Thanks for having me. My name is Fabian Padro. I'm the Executive Director for Narconon Ojai, and we take a holistic approach to treatment. We believe that a person can get better and that they're not an addict for life. We use the teachings and principles of L. Ron Hubbard, but we are a secular program, meaning non-religious program that help people get off of drugs naturally and help them live a happy and drug-free life.
Very good. So speak about fentanyl and treating it.
Yeah, so first, fentanyl is a synthetic opioid. It's 50 times stronger than heroin, 100 times stronger than morphine. Essentially, we're in an epidemic when it comes to opiate addiction. Mr. Trump, President Trump, announced that back when he was in his candidacy for president, that we have an opiate epidemic. Approximately 150 people die every day from preventable drug overdoses, and 80% of those people that are overdosing from fentanyl. So it's a very dangerous drug. It's being pressed into pills these days in the form of oxycodone pills or Percocet pills, and then addicts are using that. They will either smoke the pill and not know that fentanyl is in it, and then overdose. So we're seeing a large overdose of people dying from fentanyl use. You probably see a lot of celebrities in the media, more notably, Prince, the artist known as Prince, passed away a couple years back, from a fentanyl overdose. So it's a very dangerous drug. A very small amount can kill you, as small as you put a little bit on a head of a penny, that's enough to kill you. And so it's being put in all kinds of drugs as well, marijuana, just all different types of street drugs. It gets mixed in, and people are dying from it. So nowadays what we're trying to do to educate the youth is let them know that no drug is safe just one time anymore, because it's very different now. With fentanyl being on our streets.
Good. Now speak about the treatment.
Yeah. So when it comes to treatment in general, there's a lot of different approaches. 95% of drug rehabs out there are going to use an approach called dual diagnosis. And essentially what dual diagnosis says is that you have an addiction disorder and a mental health disorder, hence the word dual. And both of those disorders and that type of treatment method is going to treat drugs with drugs. So you're essentially treating, for instance, if you're an opiate user, you're probably going to be medicated with something called Suboxone. Suboxone is essentially a synthetic opioid that is managed, by a health care provider, and it's monitored doses, essentially, of a synthetic opioid. So instead of doing like a street drug, you're now doing a pharmaceutical-based synthetic opioid that has buprenorphine in it, and naloxone, so that you don't overdose. So that's called a harm reduction approach to treatment, which is one form of treatment. And then there's 12-step, which is Narcotics Anonymous would be an example of 12-step. They follow the 12 tenets. They have meetings, that they attend with other people suffering from substance abuse. They take a different approach from us, which is Narconon, which would be a third approach, which is a holistic and natural approach. So most opiates are non-fatal to cut cold turkey, unless you have some underlying, health issues, like I would say like an ulcer of sorts, so that, if you have ulcers and things like that, you should definitely take a medicated approach so that you come off of it safely. But most opiates are safe to stop cold turkey and are non-fatal when you come off of them. So what we're looking for when we do a drug tests, for example, what we're looking for is what's called a metabolite. And a metabolite is essentially the fingerprint of the drug that you've ingested into your system. That's what your liver converts that into what's called a metabolite, and that's what reads on the drug test and tells us, oh, he's on an opiate, or he's on a benzodiazepine, or alcohol, whatever the drug. And metabolites are essentially attracted to fat solubles in your body, your fatty tissues. So even if a person's trying to quit opiates, there's still residues that are left behind in the body. And that's actually what gets re-released into the bloodstream and creates cravings, and creates relapses and things like that. So our approach to that first is a 7 to 10 day non-medical drug withdrawal. And what that consists of is making sure that the person's basics are in, that they're eating and sleeping correctly, that their vitals are in normal range. They meet with our medical director, who gives them a physical check to make sure that they're physically fit to complete that withdrawal step. They get cognitive therapy called objectives that essentially makes them present in their environment. It takes their attention off their body, off the drugs, off the problems, and just be present in the environment that they're in. And then we give them therapeutic massage techniques called assists that help ease the withdrawal symptoms as they're coming through that. And once the person's eating and sleeping on a regular schedule and they can take direction, then they would move on to what we call the New Life Detoxification Program, which essentially addresses those residues left behind in the body from the opiate use. And so what that consists of is 30 minutes of exercising, a very specific vitamin regimen that they go on, and then they go in the sauna and they sweat the drugs and toxins out of their system. So one of the major ways that metabolites exit the body is through your sweat, urine, sweat, and feces. And so this is like an oil change, for the body, replacing the minerals and nutrition that opiates strip from the body. We replenish that, with the very specific vitamin regimen, a healthy diet, and exercise. So it's a very natural and holistic approach. It's, in my opinion, more effective, where you're not going to be dependent upon medications and drugs. You ultimately, for me, the definition of rehabilitation is bringing a person's body back to optimum health after suffering from addiction. So, that's the true definition of rehabilitation. And that's, obviously the game that we're in, is to rehabilitate the individual.
Wow. Sounds very thorough. Fabian, I wonder if you could comment on the trajectory of fentanyl addiction in our culture. Is it actually continuing to get worse? Have we hit a peak and it's going down, or where are we on that?
Yeah, I think it is getting worse, unfortunately. But our community, our county, our country is having ways to combat that. I think one is providing effective treatment is key. Prior to that is effective education of our youth. So I think education is important. I think nowadays you don't see it as much. There are some programs that are still good that are left out there. But I think we've been seeing a reduction of that in our school system, and it's creating, unfortunately, a problem. However, there is different forms of medications that exist out there to prevent drug overdoses. One of the things that the county and the community are doing is making sure centers, or that parents of known addicts are carrying these nasal sprays, to essentially prevent the overdose from occurring. And what these nasal sprays are called Narcan. You can pick those up now. I think there's some initiatives from the state of California that allows one to purchase that, like at your CVS store, or get it from your healthcare provider. Narcan is essentially, it comes in a spray form or a needle, kind of like an EpiPen that you could use as well to bring the person back to life if they have overdosed. So those are some initiatives that are helping combat, the issue with overdosing from fentanyl. I think fentanyl is really targeting our youth. I personally at my center don't really see it in, individuals past their 30s. It's usually in that range of, 18 to 25 that it's very heavily being used. And it's a disturbing trend because it is such a powerful drug that, obviously is taking a lot of lives away from our youth.
Wow. Thank you very much, Fabian. We're going to wrap things up here. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, George.
You're welcome. This is George Alger signing off for this segment of Our Ventura TV. Until we meet again.